How's it going, guys? Rhino here, and welcome back. This is another webcam video where I just have my face overlay and stuff. And I apologize for doing videos like this. It's just I'm so pressed for time, especially this last week or so before going off to college, that this is like the easiest way for me to make a video that actually doesn't take very much time. And so, for when I make videos, this is the best way that I can do it right now. So I apologize that the quality isn't the best, including the audio, but I work with what I can, and I hope you guys still enjoy it. But essentially, last night, around 1 a.m. or so, I tweeted, I've been on this earth for 22 years now, still waiting for my white privilege to kick in. Um, Mainly as a joke, just because, I hear so much about white privilege and, oh, white people are so privileged, black people are so oppressed in today's society, yet I still have yet to experience any of the privileges that are supposedly given to me simply because of my white skin. And so I just think it's an absolutely absurd claim. And now that being said, I want to clarify that similar to like racism and sexism, white privilege exists on an individual scale. Uh, just like racism doesn't exist systematically or systemically, same with sexism, at least in the West. White privilege doesn't exist systematically or systemically, but it exists on an individual level. So what I mean by that is if I go to the South and there's a white store owner, uh, traditionally white, like very Southern and racist and stuff like that, I might get treated better because I'm white versus a black person who walks into that store. I'm not saying this has happened to me, because this hasn't. This furthest south I've been is I've been to Arizona, which isn't really the South. It's more Western, but and then Tennessee. In Tennessee, there was almost no racism either, at least near Nashville where I lived. So this hasn't happened to me, but I'm assuming there are these racist people out there. And so my white privilege would come out in that sense, in the sense of that store owner. But there could very well just be a racist black store owner who does the same thing towards black people. So then there'd be an individual black privilege, individual Asian privilege, individual Latino privilege, etc. And so the privileges exist on that scale, but not overall. Simply because of my white skin, I'm not treated better by society or by the government or by the country, or I'm better off. I'm more likely to have a good life, etc. That's not how it works. It's just simply on the individual level with individual racists, individual sexists, etc. But this guy responded to me. Now, I don't know if this was satire. This guy very well could have been being sarcastic, and I'm completely missing the point of his tweet. But this is exactly the type of tweet that I was expecting in a response, because this is the exact type of argument that's made for white privilege. And I'm actually really happy he made this, because this is the epitome of the left's argument for white privilege. I mean, there's more to it. This guy was limited to 150 characters, whatever the fuck it is for Twitter. So obviously this guy could have made a much more detailed argument if he had more room. And so, this isn't the crux or the best argument you're going to get from the left for this type of, for white privilege, but it definitely details essentially the main points. And so this really details it out. Let's break it down. So you will never experience racism or police brutality, and you got in college easily. There's your privilege. So let's start with racism. I have experienced racism. I've actually experienced a lot of racism. I have been called a white devil before from someone I wasn't even interacting with. It was just someone passing by called me a white devil, similar to someone dropping the N-word as a black person passes by. Although obviously one's a little bit worse, I understand that, but it's still racist to call someone a white devil. I've been told my opinion doesn't matter because I'm white. I've been told someone hates me because I'm white. That's, if I said I hated someone because they're black, that's pretty fucking racist. So yes, that is racist. I've been told I'm stupid because I'm white. I've been told I should die because I'm white. I forgot about that one. I've heard people say, I wish all white people died, etc. I've faced racism. And what's really sad is racism against other races, against minorities, has been going down significantly since, I don't know, I'd say the 1800s, where it was at its peak, where, everyone, well, not everyone, but, we had racism, we had Jim Crow laws, slavery, shit like that. That's where it was really at its peak, where people just absolutely hated minorities, but especially black people in this country. That was where racism was at its peak. And it's just been at a very gradual, I wouldn't say gradual, I'd say pretty steep decline since then. To the point, like to now, where racism, especially against black people, but minorities in general, is at a basically all-time low. Almost no one except for those really special people in the KKK hates minorities and people of color. Well, basically the same thing. And so it's at like an all-time low, but sadly racism in general is starting to pick back up. But it's not racism against minorities. Sorry, I'm starting to get like sick and get congested. It's racism against white people. It's racism for racism's sake, fighting racism with racism. Because there's a perceived racism against minorities, which, if you watch any sort of like Ben Shapiro video or anything like that, you can see all that just absolutely debunked with statistics and articles and what am I looking for? Studies, shit like that. Absolutely debunked. Especially on a systemic level, where it's really important, not there. But they perceive that racism and they try to fight it with racism. So they're just creating more racism. And so it's at an increase right now. You're seeing more and more racism, especially since BLM has become a thing and Antifa have become a thing. You're seeing far more racism than ever before, which is really sad, but that's the case. And I have experienced racism. So X for the first part. Police brutality. You're right there, actually. I have never experienced police brutality. I've had 2 run-ins with the police. The first one, I was going 20 over the speed limit. I was going 55 and a 35 near my college, and a cop pulled me over. Turns out he thought I was drunk. Thought I was drunk driving. Very respectable guy. He wasn't even a dick about anything. And I'm pretty sure he was ending his shift, but he just wanted to make sure I wasn't drunk driving. He didn't even give me a ticket or anything. Just said, be more careful next time. And so I got off. But he was actually pulling me over because I spun my tires, and so he literally thought I was a drunk driver. He wasn't pulling me over because of the 20 over. Didn't get a ticket. Had a good experience. The second time I got pulled over, I got a ticket. The guy was a dick about it, but in all honesty, it wasn't police brutality. However, most black people will never face police brutality for just doing what I did, for just speeding. It's when they start acting up, well, when anyone in general, when you see police brutality, most of the time it's people acting up, fighting back, resisting arrest, etc. If you just sit there with your hands on the steering wheel, answering the officer's questions, handing him your license and shit when he asks for it, if you have a gun, letting him know you have a gun, etc. Most often you will not face any issues unless that police officer happens to, have an issue, at which case they will be prosecuted and, things will go badly. But the police brutality part, what about my black friends who've never faced police brutality? Do they have white privilege? They face racism just like I have. They have not faced police brutality at all. Some of them haven't even been pulled over or anything. So, do they have white privilege, or is just white privilege not a thing? Are you able to have white privilege even if you're not white? Because then it's not white privilege. It's more of I'd say it's more classism than anything, more of a classist type thing. But I don't know the answer to that. And you got into college easily. Now this one's funny because my black friends, so I go to a college that has a minimum requirement of a 3.0 GPA in high school. I had a 3.5, worked decently hard for that, not really. I could have tried a lot harder, but I didn't really feel the need to because I just wanted to get a 3.0 to get automatic acceptance into the university. It has has an SAT requirement or an ACT requirement. And for the ACT, I scored a 26 out of 36. Not really that good or anything, but the average is like a 21. And you needed a 20. You needed a 20 or 21 or 22, somewhere in there, 20 to 22 to get automatically accepted. And so I got both of those. I got the GPA requirement and the ACT requirement easy. For a person of color, from my black friends, they had an even lower requirement for GPA and ACT simply because of their skin color. It was easier for them to get into college. Now, I had no troubles getting into college because I put in almost minimal effort in high school and I was still able to get in. But they had an even lower bar set for them simply because of their skin color. That's an argument more for black privilege than anything else. Yeah. If a person of color gives even a modicum of effort, a just slight effort throughout grade school, they'll easily get into middle school. Throughout middle school, they'll easily get into high school. Throughout high school, they'll easily get into college because they have all these things thrown at them, all these programs and shit to make things easier for them to get in. Now, luckily, most of my black friends are actually like incredibly smart, so they got probably 3.8s or higher in high school, and got way above the requirements for SATs and ACTs. They're way smarter than me, but they had a minimum. They had a smaller requirement to get in. So that's more of an testament to black privilege than anything else. I don't know what this has to do with white privilege. So, yeah. I don't believe in white privilege. Not on the level that you're saying I have. Because, I mean, especially you will never experience racism. I experience it almost on the daily. Yeah. But thank you guys for watching. I want to know your guys' thoughts as well down below. So feel free to post a comment. I'm happy to read those. And yeah, thank you for watching. Be sure to comment, rate, and subscribe. And as always, have a nice day.